Welcome back to Sunday Live. Now, we often on the news talk about business, but not so often the importance of business doing good, which is critical. And we're happy to have in studio with us Bob Collymore to help us go through this. First and foremost, Bob, it's International Day of the Girl Child. I know you and your team have been on the ground in Samburu. What was going on there?
Well, we went to open a dorm which young Josephine Coulet, who's one of my heroes.
Right.
Josephine has been rescuing girls from FGM, from early childhood marriages, and from beating. I think so far she's rescued about 1,000 girls and is currently taking care of 253 girls. And so we had a fundraiser today, and it was, it was a successful fundraiser. It was good to be on the ground with.
Josephine Coulet, I believe, is a young Kenyan.
Yes.
And she's rescued over 1,000 girls, you say,
yes,
and caring right now for 250. I'm going to come back to the importance of individuals taking responsibility. But first, let's go into what you're doing as a company. I've seen you at various panels, sessions. I know even within your company this is important. Gender equity is a big thing. So what is Safaricom doing to support the whole idea of empowering the girl child and try to create a level playing field in terms of gender?
We're doing a range of things. One of the things we're doing is a thing we call Women in Technology. And Women in Technology tries to introduce girls, very young girls, to technology and show them that it can be fun and it's not just the man's world. So if you come to our offices on Saturday morning, you'll find girls from as young as 6 who are doing science experiments and having a great time. And I wander down from time to time, and it's amazing how these kids, I mean, have girls and boys, but how these kids embrace science. So that, that's one thing we do. Of course, we do things like the Starehe girls. I mean, we have spent more than 110 million shillings in Starehe, building libraries, building playing fields, and doing that kind of stuff, building a dorm. In Fafi in Garissa, we built the first dorm for Fafi High School.
Right.
We built dorms in South Nyanza, in Karachuonyo. Because we believe that girls need to be brought up with dignity and respect. Of course, there's the problem that girls have with their periods, and many girls have to skip school because they don't have the right facilities. And so we've worked with Huru here in Kenya to provide sanitary pads for girls. So there's a broad range of things. We don't think that you can just do education on its own.
Why is it important for business to get involved? Why do you do it as Safaricom?
Businesses have a unique role. We talk a lot about governments and government's responsibility, but business is where wealth is usually created. Business is where products are created, and if we don't create the right products to uplift society and uplift the community in which we operate, then we don't have a long-term future. Recently, as you know, the Sustainable Development Goals were agreed by 193 countries, and you were in New York. And those Sustainable Development Goals looks at the next 15 years and say, as a world, this is the agenda. These are the things that we have to tackle. We have to tackle poverty eradication. We have to get rid of hunger. We have to deal with climate change. It's a disaster if the Earth continues to heat up at the rate it's currently heating up. Within 20 years' time, the arable land here in Kenya will shrink.
Dwindling resources, it's happening. It's already happening.
The yield will reduce, and the people who are below the poverty line will increase. And so we have to deal with those issues. And this time around, the last time with the Millennium Development Goals,
yes.
It was something which was thrown and nobody really picked it up until too late. This time, everybody's been involved. 1 million people around the world has taken part in designing these goals.
And for those who don't know and are asking, who was involved, actually right here in Nairobi, there were different people coming together on different platforms to share views and contribute, and that's why, in many ways, the SDGs are so many.
And one of the key drivers, for Kenya, two of the key drivers. One was Betty Minor, who was one of the eminent persons, together with Paul Pullman from Unilever, and of course our own representative representative to the UN, Macharia Kamau,
Ambassador, yes,
was driving it from the UN.
Kenya having pride of place in that process. Let's take a look at a video now. Safaricom undertook a social experiment, and we really wanted to highlight that this week on Sunday Live. If you haven't watched this, you can go onto the social media platforms, go onto YouTube, look for it, but let's take a look at it right now on Sunday Live.
Hi, Mina, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Thank you, Sana. So I'm going to show you a couple of images, and I want you to just tell me what first thing comes to your mind when you see them.
Shags. I would think in a rural area.
Let me share the next one.
Wow, war. Sadly, violence.
207.
Nikiwa mtaani korokocho mtaa ya baba na mama.
Let me share the next one.
Hii picha yake haiwezi kupotea. Popote mtu akiona anajua the other side of Nairobi.
Where do you think that is?
Kibera, Mathare.
A ghetto. Poverty. I think that's the first thing that comes in my mind. Siyo korokocho, ni Kibera, Mathare, Mukuru kwa Ruben.
How about that?
Hii ni sehemu ya pwani ndio, lakini inaweza kuwa sio pwani ya Kenya.
Hawaii? Ama South Africa hivi.
So I'd like to show you the same images.
Yes.
It's a little bit different, and then tell me what you see this time.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
So do you remember the kerosene lamp from Mashambani?
Yes.
Right. That's the same lamp. Na nuko kukiwa wapi sasa?
Sasa hapa ni kwa sherehe mtu wangu.
Oh, luxury camp.
Remember the pangas?
Oh, that is the other thing that was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't at top of mind. But a lovely picture. What a beautiful picture. They've harvested. Oh, wow. That was not what I thought or saw.
Kume ni wamama wametoka kwa Shaki.
Ndio, kwa Shaki.
Mambo washe pale.
Remember the poverty in Kibera?
I remember.
Right? What do you see now?
Yes, I rust.
Ile picha tu.
Ile.
Lakini nachekwa msee. Naona akiwa poverty.
Ako fiti. Venye tu amedunga. Kwanza jeo hiyo. Amesimama.
Sana.
Kabisa.
Nakumbuka.
So excerpts there from a social experiment, and as I said, you can find that on YouTube. This is My Kenya. Google that and you'll find it. Bob, why did you and your team conduct this experiment?
I think no one tells the Kenyan story as well as the Kenyans. And unfortunately, all too often, the imagery and the narrative is a fairly depressing narrative. When we did Nico on Safaricom, not when I did, when Michael Joseph did it before he left, you know, so many people said, wow, we didn't realize that our country was so beautiful.
How beautiful.
And even flying from Samburu back to Nairobi today, you know, you look down at the countryside and you think, wow. And so we said, why don't we do what we called crowd curating? Why don't we ask Kenyans to tell the story? Remarkably, we have got over 2,000 images. If you go on Twitter or Facebook and you use the hashtag #ThisIsMyKenya, you will see some of the most breathtaking pictures. The video that you've just shown, the excerpt, nearly 3,250,000 people have seen that over the past couple of weeks or so, and including, you know, His Excellency the President have retweeted this. So it's a way of telling the Kenyan story. And actually, you know, if we wanted to reverse the tourism decline that we've been seeing, we have to tell it, and nobody tells it better than Kenyans.
Thank you so much, Bob, for joining us. Remember, it's our country. Share your views, you know. My question at the beginning was, what's your perception of Kenya? We'll be reading some of them before the close of the show, but do continue to share your pictures. Hashtag #ThisIsMyKenya. I have a special gift for one person. I'll be telling you more about that before we close the show. Bob, in an environment where Safaricom has thrived, this is my final question. You know, it's a company that has done so well, is associated completely with the Kenyan brand and accepted by Kenyans countrywide. There are the calls to see a split. There are talks that it's far too powerful, it's too big. We need to maybe pull pull this monster apart. What's your response to
I think it's
all that?
idle. I think it's idle chatter, to be honest with you. I think that there is naturally a concern about the fact that Safaricom is large and that so much depends on it. But I think what's important is that we manage the business in a way which doesn't abuse that dominance, which I don't think we do. And I think Kenyans have built Safaricom to what it is today. We have 600,000 Kenyans who are our shareholders, and they will protect the company as much as me as the CEO.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the show, Bob. Thank you
It's really
so
a pleasure
much.
to be your last guest.
Thank
on
you.
this show.
Bob is my last guest, but Anne is still here, so I'm sure you'll be back for that. And thank you. It's a great
Thanks
pleasure
so
to
much.
have you in studio.
Thank you.
We're coming back to more with Sunday Live. Of course, sport is on the way, and big wins for Kenya. Don't go away.